Hi, my name is Bob Helmbrecht. I'm one half of the husband and wife realtor team of JoAnn and Bob with my wife JoAnn Maddalena. We're with Coldwell Banker in Bridgewater, New Jersey. Tonight I want to talk to you about what you should be thinking about doing to get your house ready to put on the market and sell, especially if you're looking to get top dollar and looking to minimize the risk of contract fall-throughs, either because of home inspection issues or because of buyer's remorse. The first thing we're going to look at is curb appeal. That's the first thing the buyer is going to see when they pull up to your house. And when they pull up, they park, you really want them to have a positive feel for the house. You want them thinking about how nice it would be to come home to this place every day. And you want them to also kind of walk into the house already with a positive feeling about the house. So some of the things you're looking at for curb appeal, you want to get a yard cleanup, obviously keep the lawn mowed, leaves cleaned up. Take a look at your landscaping. Do shrubs need to be pruned? Are there dead or dying ones that should be removed? Should you freshen up the mulch? Does the house need to be pressure washed, or is there flaking paint outside that needs to be touched up? Those things should be dealt with. Also, especially if you have a smaller yard or parking situation, do you have extra vehicles on the property? Either cars that maybe you're working on, or trailers, boats. If you have another possible place to keep those, maybe a family member, it never hurts to store those off-site and keep them out of the yard of the house you're trying to sell. Also, if you're in a condo or townhouse development and you've got exterior issues that are the homeowners association responsibility, try to get those going as soon as you can. Sometimes the HOAs take a while. They may try to do several units at once that have work done. So if there's anything like that, make sure you get it in front of your homeowners association as soon as possible. Then we'll move into the interior of the house. The first issue you want to look at is decluttering. So you want to look at things like the kitchen and bathroom counters. You want to get as much stuff off of them as possible. Keep the counters as empty as you can. In the bedrooms, you want to check out the dresser tops. Again, get as much stuff off of those as you can. If you've got a home office, you'd like to keep that looking pretty organized. If you have boxes of extra reams of paper and supplies and things like that around, try to store them somewhere like the basement rather than crowding and cramping the office room that you have. You also want to look at your closets when you're decluttering. Do you have clothes, for example, that you're not going to be taking with you when you move? Consider getting rid of those now, whether you're donating them or selling them or just throwing them out. Anything you can do to kind of get your closets looking more spacious, more open. Also take a look at your furniture. One thing we recommend to sellers is take a walk around your house and try to put yourself in the buyer's position. Imagine you're walking around, maybe you've also got your spouse, your partner with you, and you've also got your agent, and maybe there's also parents walking around. You could have 4 or 5 people walking around seeing the house. Are there areas where there are kind of traffic jams that are tough to get through, where rooms feel cramped? Take a look at those rooms and see, is there extra furniture that's not really serving a purpose? Maybe an end tables or nightstands or ottomans, things that aren't really very functional, things that you can get out of the rooms to make them more open, easier to show, and more spacious. Another thing you want to look at when you're decluttering is depersonalizing the house. When buyers are walking through, you want them focused on the house, not the occupants. So you want to look around personal photos, diplomas, certificates. All those really should be taken down, put away, maybe packed for moving. Again, they're just not something you want distracting the buyers. You want them thinking about their own house and thinking what they're going to have on the walls, thinking what they're going to be putting up, not looking at your stuff. Also, if you have a home office or a computer area, for example, a lot of people have personal papers lying around. Again, that stuff really should be put away and filed. Another area to look at is the refrigerator. People typically have a lot of things on their refrigerator with magnets, calendars, notes, flyers. You really want to take all those down. Besides being unsightly, you don't necessarily want strangers walking through being able to see at a glance what week you're not going to be around for vacation or what your kids' after school schedule is like. So again, just clear off your refrigerator or any other bulletin boards or things where you have a lot of personal information and photos clipped up or posted. And you also want to do a deep clean on the house. Your kitchens and baths, they should really sparkle. Again, you always kind of want the house to look like nobody lives there, which is it's tough to keep the house that way, but really you should do an initial deep clean and then try to keep it as maintained as much as possible. Other areas that you want to make sure get a thorough cleaning are the floors. If you have carpets, get them shampooed. Hardwood floors, laminate floors, get those cleaned and polished. The windows should always be cleaned. You want those, when people are looking out the windows, you want them to see a nice clear view of the outside. Light fixtures, people don't think about those all the time, but if you've got the globes up there, take them down, dump the dead bugs out, clean them up. And also while you're doing that, check your switch plates. They tend to get dirty. People sticky fingers on them. Baseboard molding can always be cleaned. It gets dusty. Really you want to go just room by room and just make sure the house looks as clean as possible. Anything that could be causing odors is dealt with, again, like shampooing carpets or making sure pet areas are maintained. But the cleaner the house is, the better impression it's going to make on the potential buyers. All right, next I want to talk about deferred maintenance and minor repairs. Deferred maintenance is basically just a politer term for not doing the stuff you should have been doing to take care of your house. So you want to look at things like, for example, leaking faucets or chipped enameled sinks, nail holes and settlement cracks that really need to be spackled and have some touch-up paint applied. Things like light fixtures that have missing light bulbs or mismatched bulbs. Bathtubs with stained caulk that really need to be recaulked. Just kind of these minor small repairs. Again, is any one of those going to stop a sale? Not necessarily, but they are going to make the buyer kind of think a little less of the property. That may make them wonder about whether there are bigger issues that they haven't seen. Whereas if these things are dealt with, again, it's just something that's not something there for the buyer to look at as a negative. Another thing is, has your HVAC system been serviced recently? It's something buyers always ask. So again, if it hasn't been done, you probably want to get it done. Really the way you want to think of it is, if you're putting your house on the market, with a free to-do list included, that's really not a selling point. And the last thing I want to talk about is potential deal breakers. And my next video is going to go into that in more detail, so if you're interested in that topic, consider subscribing to the channel. But what I talk about with deal breakers is things that, if they come up at the home inspections, could really result in a buyer just walking away from the deal. These could be things like a buried oil tank, or a failed septic system, or a failed well test. It could mean finding mold in the property. It could mean finding active termites or extensive past termite damage. It could be foundation issues. It could be significant work done without getting permits. If it's an older home, it could be even something like asbestos, lead paint. Could be electrical systems that use things that don't meet up to code anymore. And again, these are all potentially serious things that, even if they can be remediated, may just cause a buyer to look at it and say, well, I don't want to get involved. Let's just cancel the contract. I'll move on to the next house. And again, in my next video, I'll talk a little bit more about kind of each of these situations and what you should be looking at. But again, for the purpose of this video, you really just need to be kind of thinking about, what's a possible big deal breaker and is this something I should be looking at and addressing now? So I hope you found this information useful. If you did, please like the video and consider subscribing to our channel. And if you're thinking about buying or selling a house in Central Jersey, please visit us at www.joannandbob.com, and we hope to hear from you soon. Thank you.